course, the name of this video is a bit of a clickbait, but I thought that it might be interesting to just sit down and talk about the things that I like to do instead of doom scrolling. Most of these are very much obvious things, but I think it's always nice to hear it multiple times because maybe if someone else says it, it registers in your own brain a bit better. At least that's how it works for me. I really need to, even if I'm really inspired by something, I most likely need to talk about it once again to remind myself that I actually want to start and this is the right sign for me to do so. Number one thing that occupies most of my time these days, not these days, maybe the past 3 years I've been really trying to take my sewing on a different level, and I'm determined to spend at least an hour a day on my sewing. It could be editing my sewing videos, it could be thinking about a new design, it could be draping, it could be actual sewing, but I just try to be consistent with it, and this is something that I like to do instead of being on my phone. You just cannot physically be on your phone when you're sewing. I know that technically this could apply to many different hobbies, but personally for me, to not be on my phone, I need to be distracted by something. None of these apps help me to be off my phone, because if I want to doom scroll, I'm going to solve as many puzzles as needed to doom scroll. Like, I literally need to completely distract myself, and sewing allows me to do so because there's so many parts to think about when you're making clothing that it's just impossible to be on your phone at the same time. And I think that this is such an easy hobby to pick up. It's so sustainable. You just need to have threads and needles to start experimenting. From thrift flipping to experimenting with your own designs or even tailoring your own clothes, sewing is really easy to start. Another thing that I always try to leave some spare time for is going to museums. And if you have the right person to go to these museums, then you're one of the luckiest person in the world, because you're going to be surprised how many people actually don't want to go to museums. I'm talking about museums in general, but specifically art exhibitions, because I think that this is one of the best ways to get inspiration, especially if you're lucky enough to be in a place where there are a lot of different exhibitions at the same time. I'm specifically talking about exhibitions because I know that going outside does not necessarily inspire a lot of people, and I think I picked it up recently. Like, I was never the person to be super into exhibitions until I met this girl. She always knows who are the artists that are currently exhibiting, who comes next month, and it's just so interesting to be in this environment and to conversate with these people because they feel like they're on such high level of creativity. They're always like in this sphere. That's why I also picked up this as my recent hobby. Something I'm really trying to do is journaling. And personally, I'm not finding it the easiest thing to do. Like, I would much rather just scroll on Instagram than journal. But I made this my resolution for 2026 to start journaling consistently. And I made it a routine. Something that really helps me is a routine. I need a strict routine, otherwise I'm just falling out of place and I completely forget everything. So once I figured this routine for myself, to journal and read before bed, I am really trying to be consistent with that, and so far I'm seeing good results. I think I've been very consistent for at least a month now, which I am proud of because I also can see through my journaling how I'm improving with being more honest with myself, and I love to have the opportunity to analyze thought process as well, which is, I think it's a whole other level of journaling, which I'm not there yet, but I really want to try to sometimes get out of my head and try to journal as if I was not myself, as if I was just looking through my thoughts and analyzing them. And I think this would really help me to understand myself better and maybe find a way to also increase my potential in certain thinking processes. And I'm not there yet. I'm just seeing where this could get me, but right now I'm really taking it slow, and maybe at some point I'll get more journals where each one of them would have a different purpose, because right now I'm just writing everything down in the same book. But it's working and it's a good start, so I'm quite happy about it as well. Another hobby which I would really recommend trying out is YouTube. And you don't need to try and make it your career. Just think about it as art of itself, as a platform where you allow yourself to have a video diary. This might sound a bit upsetting or sentimental, but sometimes it's just so nice to dive again into the world that you were in like 5 years ago, because I think our lives are changing so fast over the years where we might even not realize it until we see what we were like at that time, like what was the environment like, things that we liked, music that we listened, people we talked to, and all of these things you can film in your vlogs, you can edit them, you can post them, you can forget about it, and then 5 years later, you look back at it and you get inspired again, you feel these feelings again. And I think it's beautiful. I genuinely think that YouTube is one of the most authentic platforms to be on. And I have these videos from when I was 13 years old, and watching them again makes me feel so happy because I get to be inspired by my 13-year-old self, and it's just so interesting to look back at it. So even if you're not planning to post them online, you can make them private, you can just post them for yourself. And I don't think that photos would do the same effect as videos do, especially if it's a vlog. It's very personal, it's very authentic, and to be able to hear my voice that I had 5 years ago, it's completely different from what I have now. My editing styles were completely different, and it's great. It's inspiring to look back at it. So I really recommend it. Just really interesting to analyze how much we change, and we're never going to be able to see ourselves 3 years ago, but you can have these little moments, the little snippets that you will be able to feel again through vlogs, because I think that these are the most authentic type of memories that you could get. No writing, no photos would be able to translate it as well as a vlog, a day in my life would be. It's silly, I know it is, but it might honestly be worth it. Another thing is very obvious, which is reading, and I'm gonna be honest that it's not the first thing that I would want to do instead of doom scrolling, because I think that it's a bit difficult for me to focus, and I'm also usually very easily distracted, especially if I'm reading a book, so that I have to sometimes really force myself to finish a book. And that's what I was saying when I said that I made this strict routine for myself to read. Because I love reading, but sometimes I just get so distracted and it takes me 6 months to finish a book. So maybe setting some little milestones for yourself might be helpful. Like if you tell yourself that I want to read at least a book a month, it would really help to also be a bit more strict with your routine and maybe inspire you to read more. But I also have an opinion against this method because I want to be kind to myself and I want to allow myself to read whenever I want to. I don't want to make it a rule or I don't want to force it. Like it's easier for me to take it in a way that if I read 10 minutes before bed, I'm going to sleep better. It's going to calm down my thoughts. It's gonna make me fall asleep faster. That's why I should read. I think that this method works for me a bit better than saying I want to read 50 books this year. Hopefully soon I'll be able to read a few books simultaneously, because right now I cannot imagine how to even do that. I start a book and I'm gonna keep reading it, keep making myself read it if I don't want to until I finish it. Like I cannot read a few books simultaneously because they just start mixing up in my head. Something I also want to start doing is I want to write down my thoughts about a book. I think that this would really help me memorize it better, because I think that the second I finish a book, I forget about it. And I want to improve that because I think that having book conversations is very interesting. Lastly, I want to talk about sports. And, well, I think there's nothing a person can do to make another person do sports, because no one... Okay, well... Of course, some people want to do sports. It's their favorite thing in the world. But I feel like most people don't really want to spend their time on sports. And it feels like a must rather than what you would actually want to do. And I completely agree with that. And it's really difficult to find a type of sport you want to do because, well, my friend, for instance, she doesn't like being told what to do. And in these situations, what do you do? Like, what kind of sport would you do? Probably it's some sort of a game, right? Tennis or swimming. It's a bit limiting because you need the facilities for these. And what I think is easy to start with is some stretching, just before sleep. Again, sometimes I think about it in a way that stretching before bed would also help me fall asleep. And sometimes I stretch at the same time as I journal, and I'm just like feeling the most productive ever. And I think that this is the best life hack that I've come up so far. You're like, maybe you go into half pigeon and you have a pillow and you journal at the same time. It's great. I think it's really working for me well. But coming back to sports, think about it as just the time for yourself to spend on your body and let your brain rest. Even though I know that, for instance, when people go gym, sometimes they tend to overthink a lot and get too much in their head. For me, it's the more intensive my workout is, the less I'm able to overthink because I'm just too focused on the training. And I love to give my brain a rest, at least for an hour a day. Leave everything outside and spend 1 hour for your own physical health. And again, as I said, these are all very obvious things. But I personally started making good progress when I got this routine for myself. It's been 3 weeks since I started doing sports every single day, and I'm keeping it up. Okay, well, maybe stretching is not really a sport, but I consider it so because every day, at least for an hour, I just focus on my physical health. So I either stretch, go pool, gym, yoga, Pilates. Today I went at 6 a.m. and that was kind of crazy. I don't know if my brain is already crashing out and it's time for me to go sleep, but I enjoyed it. Maybe not every day because it is a bit hardcore, but it was nice. And it was nice to be in a room with people who wake up at 5 a.m. to go to Pilates. It's just the mindset of surrounding yourself with people who also want to be productive in the morning. And it is also very inspiring to be in this environment. So I would really recommend trying something that's way out of your comfort zone. Like, for me, waking up at 5 a.m. to go Pilates is very much out of my comfort zone. And generally, I'm more of a yoga person. I'm not the biggest fan of the reformer, but I loved it today. It was great. And again, the one thing that helps me the most at the moment is my routine. And I keep changing it, but I have very strict routine in the way that I know that I'm going to spend an hour on sports, at least an hour on sports every single day. I'm going to journal and I'm gonna read before bed. These things so far are really helping me to keep myself productive. And of course, I have other little additions. For instance, I always eat 3 meals a day. Like, I have to have my breakfast every single morning, and it's usually the same thing, eggs and porridge, but it just helps me to get my day started, to help my brain understand that I'm in this routine, this is what I have to do. Because, of course, there are a lot of outside factors that may affect your routine. My uni schedule changes, the meetings are changing, people are canceling, something else comes up, meeting with friends. But there are certain things that I make sure to do every single day and that I 100% know that I will leave this time for myself. My phone is already out of storage, so I'm going to end this video here. Try new things. Have fun with it. Be kind to yourself, and I hope to see you next one. Thank you for watching. Bye!